Hi, I'm Stuart. I want to, first off, thank you very much for that. And I really just want to say that while you've been speaking for the past couple of sessions, there's been an absolutely fascinating conversation happening online about the topics that we've been talking about here. And I've been participating in it. And just the challenges and the solutions that are being talked about here. And I'm sorry that the VC folks didn't take any questions, because it was a conversation all about the future of funding, whether VC is anything worth spending any money on. It's the worst investment ever. Is the problem really culture? Is the problem really exits? Is Canada basically done for? Some people saying, yes, Canada is done. We might as well just sort of toss it in right now. So I wanted to encourage people to take a look. I wish that there was a hashtag assigned to it, but there's just been a fabulous conversation, very, very engaging, happening online. So I wanted to alert people to that. The other thing, sort of coming back to sort of quickly what we were talking about a bit last night as well, the role of government in all of this has the potential to both be the most positive motivator and frankly, or most positive sort of driver and frankly the biggest bloody roadblock to getting stuff done. How are you dealing with sort of the challenge that can bring in terms that policy can do stuff that sort of overnight can have sweeping implications and possibly make things a lot better, but also sort of make some people want to stick stuff in their eye as a result?
Well, everything you're going to do is going to get someone to celebrate and someone to stick needles in their eyes. I mean, it's just the way the world works. One of the things I find most challenging is meeting with large numbers of venture capitalists and trying to figure out what the sector really wants. I mean, I thought relationships as I got older were getting more complicated, so that's tough. I think that we sometimes forget that, well, agriculture hasn't gone away. As a matter of fact, we're going to have to relocalize a lot of our agriculture because our food's going to come closer to home because of climatic problems, energy prices, and other things. We're going to have to relocalize a much more highly automated industrial economy. Local. So all of us are going to be reindustrializing. And if you saw the rise and fall of industry in Poland, which I think is sort of the emerging rapid rise in Poland of an industrial economy, and then its loss as it automated and shed so many jobs, and then moved to other countries where once Poles were making a lot more money in the industrial economy, they started being less competitive. I mean, it's a horrible broken cycle there of really moving down the value chain of employers that employ less and less people at less and less money. So, I mean, in Canada, we're pretty blessed. Do you know what I mean? I think of my 18-year-old grandmother who, escaped from Eastern Europe, some horrible situations, and arrived in the shore in Hamilton, not speaking English or French or having any education at all. And within 2 generations, all of us have been pretty successful, I also am an extraordinary optimist. And I really say we have to challenge ourselves to do things. We really do have to work with each other. I have one of my colleagues, and I'll leave you with 2 very short stories. One of my colleagues who's Muslim, who's president of our party, a very young lawyer, very bright guy, represents Ottawa Centre. He says, I want to get involved with Israel. So why do you want to get involved with it? He said, because until Muslims like me get involved with Jews and about the future of democracy and liberal societies, we're not going to change anything. Do you know what I mean? I'm a gay man. When I was born in this country, I had no rights. I've lost jobs. I've had people try to burn my house down. I've faced some of the worst discrimination and had some of the most hateful things. Most important thing in my life was becoming a father. I was adopted. I had parents who suffered and had a very hard life and did very well, but very little. And my grandmother and mother wore a babushka. They were the butt of all jokes, and they didn't speak English so good. And it was a tough life they had. Not the best day of my grandmother's life comes close. My worst days are better than her. I've never worried about food. I've never had to escape Nazis. I've never had to travel to a country where all of the older people in her village told was so frozen you couldn't grow anything here, she starved to death. There was no CNN, there was no telecom. I mean, we simply don't have some of the challenges previous generations do. In some ways, our challenges are more complex. But, I really want to get a T-shirt that says, "Stop the whining." Do you know what I mean? Be creative. Get on with it. And I'm going to get the hook now. And I just want to say to you, profit's a good word. It goes with social responsibility. Collaborativeness is a capitalist value as well. Generosity and legacy are things that are important, and respect and trust. And I have lost that sometimes. If you picked up the local papers here, you'll know.
Just yesterday.
No, and I'll tell you, I mean, it was one of the stupidest things I've done in my life. There was a hate campaign that went on that was against one of the candidates who ran for mayor here that was one of the most horrific outpouring of sewage, of hatred I'd ever seen in my life. And I hadn't been in despair in my life for a long time. And I read that kind of hate and I said, this is about as far away as we can get. But you know, we rise above those things, right? And I reacted angrily, and I've apologized for it. Because what happens when you get into that downward spiral, when people spew hate, you get defensive, you say things that are stupid, and you overreact, right? And what we are doing when we build constructive, we share wealth, we share companies, we share knowledge, we share respect, we reverse those kinds of things. And we also have to be aware, I think forgiveness is a very important word as well, that you have to be able to forgive yourself and other people. Do you know what I mean? And my friend Yasser says, you know, we have a whole lot of healing and a whole lot of forgiveness. Our relationships internationally are almost all linked to commerce. And you have to bring your values to your business. And so when someone who's a young Muslim lawyer says to me, I want to work with Jewish people, I want to help build these relationships between Ontario and Israel, that gives me hope. And a few more of those, we will change the world faster than even our parents thought possible. Thank you.
Well, never cut off I've just told the minister that one thing a politician should never do to another politician, I'm a former politician, is cut off the applause. So if you want to do it one more time. This has been an extraordinary day. This is an extraordinary speech. Minister, when I listened to you carefully, I came from London, Ontario, came to Toronto. I thought London was the greatest city in the world until I came to Toronto, discovered that Toronto was the greatest city in the world. And then when I went to Jerusalem just a few weeks ago, I sat beside the mayor of Jerusalem at a conference that YISM had organized, and Maury was beside me, and I sat beside the mayor. His name was Nir Barkat, I think, who came from the IT field. He'd made a fortune in the IT field and now was $1 a year man running Israel. And he declared that day at this meeting at YISM that they had decided to rebrand Jerusalem. And they were going to rebrand Jerusalem as the knowledge capital of the world. The city of the people of the book were now rebranding themselves as the knowledge capital of the world. And I thought that was a stunning definition or self-definition. And I said to myself, wait a second, hold on. I come from the knowledge capital of the world, Toronto. And what happened is, and that was part of the inspiration of this particular event, because we have some of the brightest, smartest people in the world. And they come from all over the world. And they're in, we can arrest people in about 83 languages in Toronto. 83 languages. No, it's true, we do, we can. We speak 183. We speak 183 languages, but the police can now arrest people in about 86 languages. The problem is, Mr. Minister, that the translations at the courts haven't kept up with that. We can arrest them, but we can't really prosecute them in those languages, so we've got to catch up. Having said that, the knowledge capital is important, and you, I think, emphasized this because when you said it isn't really the macro thing of the world, it's every city and every region. That's where innovation happens. It's the cultural, every city in Toronto and Ontario is different. Toronto is not one city. I represented the city for 26 years. There's a number of cities. And I just want to end with echoing what you said and giving you a bit of a challenge. And I said this a little earlier during the day. Within 100 yards of this building is some of the smartest research, medical research in the world. The greatest doctors, the greatest medical research, and they're unbelievable, and they're just within 100 yards of here. And they're 200 yards away from Queen's Park. Not too far. We don't have to go around the world. And this is an unbelievable cluster because Toronto, in terms of innovation, as we learned today, is not one cluster of innovation, but a whole raft of overlapping clusters. John has said this, and others have said this as well. And so the point of it is, here's the challenge. We now know, and this is clear, and Michael has talked about this, and Maury has talked about this, and others from Israel have talked about this, that at the end of the day, the one place that we're lacking is we've got the research, we've got the talent, but we just don't have the capital to tie the two of them together to make this place, this area, one of the pharmatech, meditech centers of the world. All the talent's here. The marketing is here. The research is here. All we need is the bridge to close off. And as they say, the desert in between needs to have some oases. And I would hope you up at Queen's Park, sir, will help us close that oasis. The people in this room can build oases on this particular street and create jobs. Because the objective of this event was to make Toronto a knowledge capital, but more important, and that is to create jobs in the knowledge economy. That's what our purpose is. That's what my purpose is. And for that, we thank you, Minister, and thank all of you for staying and being such a compelling audience, because as we, both Rafi and I have been to a lot of these events. And I must say that I was amazed because we produced a show better than we thought, because very few of you have left the room for about 8 hours, and you're still sitting here. No, I know I have to go to the bathroom too. So at the end of the day, I want to thank you all. I want to conclude by drawing your attention to just one person, and she's over there in that corner. Wave your hand. So while Rafi and I were trying to create this particular event, somebody then had to go and do it. And it was Sherry Moore of MCC, and I want to thank you, Sherry, because it's been an extraordinary day. We've done it in such a short period of time, and I want to thank you all. And now you're all cordially invited. My firm, Min & Gross, is inviting you all upstairs to a drink and a reception to continue this networking, and you can stay as long as you want. Thank you again. And as Rafi said, this is the start of a great adventure, just the start.